Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be discussing about important and concerning topic about housing on federal lands. But I've seen headlines, high discussion about how federal lands can be used to create affordable housing opportunities and what that means for communities across the country. Over the next several minutes, we break down what this idea is all about, why it's becoming such a hot issue, and the potential benefits and challenges it brings. So that being said, let's get started. So the first thing, what are federal lands? First thing first, let's talk about federal lands. When you say federal lands, we're referring to the large tract of land owned and managed by the federal government. Agencies like the Bureau of Land Management, which is also known as BLM, and the U.S. Forest Service oversee millions of acres across the country. So the BLM and the U.S. Forest Service oversee millions of acres across the country. Traditionally, traditionally, these lands have been used for conservation, recreation, and extraction. But recently, policymakers and advocates are exploring how some of these lands might help address our national affordable housing crisis. Using federal lands for affordable housing is seen as a way to lower costs since these lands are already in public ownership. The idea is that by leveraging these assets, communities can develop housing projects with lower land costs, which is an important factor when you are trying to build affordable homes for the citizen. Now, let's talk about the affordable housing crisis. Let's put this into a context. Affordable housing has been a growing concern for many Americans for years. Rising rents and property prices have left countless families struggling to find safe, decent, and affordable places to live. According to recent studies, millions of households spend more than 30% of their income on housing. To tell you how devastating this is. And this is considered a financial burden. The idea behind using federal land is not just to build more homes, but it's about creating opportunities for communities to access housing that does not break the bank. This approach could be particularly beneficial in areas where traditional development is too expensive due to high land cost. So, how do federal lands could be used for affordable housing? How exactly might federal lands be transformed into affordable housing? That's the question I want to ask. One proposal is for the government to set aside certain parcels of government land specifically for housing development. Government and private developers could then work together to build housing projects that meet affordable housing standard. Imagine this: a rural area where federal lands are abundant. Instead of letting this land sit unused or only used for resource extraction, communities could develop new neighborhoods with affordable housing options. In urban areas, for example, even smaller parcel on federal lands like those near transportation hubs or in revitalizing districts could be used to create mixed income housing development. Another idea is to offer long-term lease of federal lands at reduced rate to developers who commit to building and maintaining affordable housing. This model has the potential to reduce upfront costs and encourage innovative and sustainable design. So, what are the benefits of using the federal land? Let's talk about why this idea is generating so much excitement at the moment. For starters, federal lands are already owned by the government, which means that the cost of the land itself is much lower than purchasing privately held property. This will dramatically reduce the overall cost of housing development and ultimately the price for house buyers and renters. In addition, by developing affordable housing on these lands, the government can stimulate local economics. New housing development can create jobs, not just during construction phase, but also in terms of long-term economic growth, as more affordable housing can attract families and business to these specific areas. Moreover, converting unused federal lands into vibrant communities can help address issues like urban blight and underutilization of government assets. instead of having the assets sit idle without any usefulness. With this is a win-win situation where communities get much needed housing and federal lands are put to productive use. Now, what are the challenges and considerations? We have to look into that, of course. Of course, while the potential benefits are significant, there are also challenges to consider. One major issue is the legal and bureaucracy complexity of repurposing federal lands. These lands are managed under strict guidelines meant to preserve natural resources, and any shift towards housing development will require careful planning and coordination among multiple government agencies. There's also the environmental impact we need to take into aspect. Before any development can take place, thorough environmental assessment are needed to ensure that the construction of new of ne- needed of the construction of new housing won't and economic the ecosystem at large or the conflict with conservation goals, because the federal law was initially reserved for the extraction and conservative purposes. So balancing housing needs with environmental protection is a delicate issue that requires innovative planning and community engagement. Additionally, local communities might have different opinion on whether federal land should be used for housing versus other purposes like recreation or conservation. This means that any plan to convert federal lands into affordable housing will need to include extensive stakeholder consultations to build consensus. Now, what are you looking ahead for at the policy proposal? We can ask ourselves, okay, what's next for affordable housing on federal lands? Policymakers are actively discussing pilot programs and legislative proposals this land that could unlock this land for housing development. For instance, a proposal suggests that creating public-private partnership that will allow developers to lease federal land at below market rate if they agree to build affordable units and maintain them over the long term. There is also talk about using technology and data analytics to better identify federal lands that are most suitable for affordable housing projects. By mapping out available lands, environmental constraints, and community needs, government agencies could create a more strategic approach to housing development while using the federal land. In an exciting in an exciting time, because the conservation is not just about housing. If you could remember, it's about thinking how we use public assets to build stronger, more resilient community instead of just having the assets sit idle and being underutilized. Whether you're a policymaker, a community organizer, or just someone interested in innovative solution to our nation's housing challenges, this is a topic worth keeping an eye on. So that means of affordable housing on federal lands represent a bold vision for tackling the affordable housing crisis by leveraging public assets in creative ways. While there are challenges to overcome, the potential for lower development costs, economic stimulation, and better land use make this an idea that could transform community across the country. So that being said, thank you for joining me on this topic today about the affordable housing and the federal lands. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more discussion on pressing policy issues. Stay tuned for more updates and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.